Hi guys, hope you're well. Welcome to day 30, the final day of the Aurora AKT 30-day challenge. I really hope you found these videos of some value. Thank you to everybody who's been commenting on them and messaging and sending really nice words about how they're keeping you going and dragging you through those really challenging times sometimes when you kind of feel a little bit down, a bit deflated, a little bit lack of confidence. Hopefully you're ready for tomorrow. Hopefully your confidence is going to be sky high. Hopefully you're going to have that final boost in the last 24 hours to get you ready for the all-important day, because you've got to go into this exam as high energy as you can, so you give it every single ounce that you have. You don't want to leave anything on the table. Now today is not a question, but it's a challenge for you to think about over the next 12-24 hours. Try and get your mind in the right space before the big day. So the big day is tomorrow. The last 12 to 24 hours, these three things are going to put your mindset at its most optimum point for when you walk into that exam. If you do not get your mindset in the right place, if you don't feel energized, if you don't feel like you're on top of this, if you don't feel, look, can pass, will pass, for the hashtag that we all talk about, it means so much. The reason we focus on it so much is to get your mindset right. It's one thing to do months and months on end of work. It's one thing to do thousands and thousands of questions. But if you don't get this right and you don't walk into that exam with energy and optimism, you're going to drop marks, right? Because when you get down to that 50-50, you're not going to push yourself. When you get down to the bit where you really have to focus and tease out the little bits of energy that you have to try and work out that question, you're going to let it go. And if you let too many of those go, you're going to drop marks. If you drop marks, you're not going to pass this exam. It's too high level. So you've got to get your mindset right. Three things that are really important to focus on for the next 12 to 24 hours, depending on when you're watching this video. Number one, this is so powerful. Conquer three things that you find difficult. That you can change this with three things that you hate, three things that you've never really understood before, three things that you thought, I'm never going to even bother because I'm just not going to get it. Get three things right that you've never really understood before. Why? Because the power that gives you in terms of feeling right, okay, actually, I'm well ahead of what I thought now. I didn't think I was going to get those right, but now I do. I've worked it out. I've understood it. The confidence that will give you is huge. Now, let me give you an example. When I was doing my own AKT, I never really understood lymphomas. I never really understood leukemias. Now, the day before my exam, I made sure I got this right in my head. I went right back to basics. I literally went online and just found the most basic explanations, then started to build up on it. Okay, understood principles, learned a bit more, went to some guidance, understood treatments, management, bang. Before I know it, lymphomas and leukemias were in my head. And I was thinking, you know what, that wasn't so bad. And if I can get that bit right, I'm going to do really, really good. The second thing I did was, I remember really clearly, was Kate's diagrams. I had no idea about Kate's diagrams. Every time I saw a question, guess. Every time I saw a question, move on. Every time I saw a question, one day I'll learn that. The day before my exam, I sat down, I went to basic principles, I watched so many videos, I did so many free questions on Kate's diagrams, and I got it right. But the confidence that gave me in finally cracking that graph was huge. It made me feel that, okay, any question that comes up in stats, I've done it, because that was the hardest thing that I found to understand. Now, I can't remember the third thing that I did, but lymphomas and leukemias and Kate's diagrams put my mind in a huge place because I used to find it so difficult. So try and think about three things that you've not bothered to look at, hated, never understood. Go back to basics, take the time, unwind it, because the power it gives you is huge. Number two, review three things that you find easy. This might sound really odd, but the reason you do this is you're reinforcing to your brain that actually there's a lot of stuff that, even though you might be doubting yourself, even though you might be thinking that you don't know anything, there's a lot of stuff in your brain that it finds very, very simple. And reinforcing three things that you know you find really easy, that you can't even thinking, there's no need for me to go over that because I just know it anyway, will keep reinforcing to your brain that actually you know a lot. That puts your confidence level super, super high. Now, I remember I used to find hypertension guidelines really easy. Lots of people struggle to remember the different steps. For some reason, it really clicked to me. I hadn't even read it for 2 or 3 weeks before because I knew that it was in my mind. But I made sure I read through those guidelines once again. And yes, I knew already, but it just reinforced that actually, you know what, I know this. This is pretty solid AKT type stuff, nice CKS guidelines, high value primary care stuff, and I know it. That really helped in boosting my confidence. The second thing that I did, I remember very clearly again, was I read over the immunization schedule for children. Now, for some reason, this stuck in my mind from the beginning. I knew, I remembered it, I knew the combinations, I'd worked out a little chart, doubles, triples, etc. And for some reason it just stuck. And I hadn't read it for a while before my exam, but I read it on the day before my exam. Why? Because it reinforced to me that something that so many others find difficult, actually, I find quite straightforward. There may be the alternative where things I find difficult, they find easy. But this was something that I found easy that others struggle with. And that gave me so much confidence. And once again, I can't remember the third thing that I did that I found easy, but the combination of cracking 3 things that you don't know very well and reviewing 3 things that you do know very well in combination makes you think, okay, I've got this. I'm ahead of the game. I know more than I think I do. Those doubts are natural but not correct. They're natural but not correct. And I allowed myself to unwind those things the day before my exam, which put me in prime position to walk into that exam. And the third thing is I gave myself license to make mistakes. And this is super important, because if you go into an exam like this thinking, I don't want to make any mistakes, I don't want to get anything wrong, I want to hopefully know everything that comes up in front of me on that day, you are going to disappoint yourself. You need to go in there with the expectation that you're a human being, that you are allowed to make mistakes, that you are going to make mistakes, and that is not going to impact the overall mark that you get in the exam. There is a reason you do not need 100%. There's a reason the pass mark is not 100%. Number one, you're going to get some questions that you don't know about because you just don't know about it. You're not covered it or whatever. But you also have a bit of a gap there to allow for questions that you will make mistakes on. So allow yourself to go in there and make mistakes, and allow yourself to go in there and come up to a question and think, you know what, I have no idea about this, but not let it affect you. If you tell yourself, you know what, there are going to be questions that I have no idea on. There are going to be questions that I find random. There are going to be questions that I just wish I'd read about, but I hadn't. And there are going to be questions that I thought I knew, but I didn't. If you allow yourself and expect that to happen, when it happens on question 3, 4, or 5, or whenever it is in the paper, it is not going to hit you so much. If you go into this exam thinking, I hope that everything that comes up is something that I know and that I've done before, you're going to get disappointed, because it's going to hit you really hard when it inevitably doesn't come out that way. 200 questions is a lot of information, and it can cover a huge range of things. You cannot have covered everything. So please go in there allowing yourself to A, make mistakes, and B, allowing yourself to come up with a question that you don't know, and not letting it hit you so hard that you think, okay, I'm going to fail. I knew it wasn't going to be my day. I knew things were going to come up that I didn't know. Because if you start going down that cycle, it's a vicious cycle. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Confidence is going to drop, and you're going to walk out thinking, actually, you know what, those stuff I knew, but I let it go because I didn't focus enough. Or whatever's going to happen, you're going to start to get frustrated. Why? Because you expected perfection. Do not expect perfection, and you'll go in there with a much better mindset. So 3 things to think about tonight, guys, and I promise you this is going to put you in a better position for tomorrow. Number 1, conquer 3 things that you found difficult. Just think of the 3 things that you've just left behind and make sure you hit them hard and do them really well. Number 2, review 3 things that you find easy. Don't neglect these things. These are really important to keep solidifying to your brain that you know a lot to boost your confidence. And number 3, don't look for perfection. You do not need perfection to pass AKT. You need a calm mind, and you've got to give yourself a little bit of slack to get things wrong and not know a few things on the big day. Really hope this is some value, guys. Campus Will Pass is all about this type of thing. Yes, I can teach you knowledge. Yes, I can teach you guidelines. And I've been so lucky that a lot of you guys have used our resources and our mocks and our online courses and audios and all the other bits and bobs that we've done over the last 3 to 4 months with you. I'm really lucky that you guys have put faith in me for that. But the one thing that I think is much more valuable than any of that stuff is if I can give you the confidence to walk into that exam and absolutely dominate it. And I've got faith in you. I know you can do it. You've got to know that you can do it yourself. And I'm sure you're going to be giving me some good news in the next 3 to 4 weeks. All the best, guys. Stay focused, stay calm, and go and dominate this exam. #CampusWillPass. #I went with Aurora. Take care.